Have
Whatever.
you seen those beards? Holy cow.
Yeah, those are serious beards. I am not willing to put that kind of work into my beard. Plus, I when it gets to a certain length, you start finding animals and bird nests in it after dinner. So it's like
I figure
not
that's how cats got into my place. Extra cats that I didn't know about. Where did you come from? From the
there's
beard.
howdy, folks, and welcome to episode 512 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Paul E. Cooley. Joining me today, Mr. Terry Mixon.
Burn, baby, burn.
In the pre-show, I talked about the fact that I did some singing while I was waiting for you, and the fact that was going to be the only singing in the show.
You liar.
And yet here you come with your Disco Inferno garbage. Garbage. See, I made it sound French, so it sounds like a really good thing.
Disco will never die.
I saw that movie, and that tower didn't survive. And if you don't know what we're talking about, it's 1977's or 79's Airplane. Zucker Brothers movie. Go see it.
Actually, I was thinking of the superheroes movie.
The superheroes movie. What are you talking about?
I'm trying to remember which one it was. It had Ben Stiller in it.
Oh, is that Mystery Men?
That's it, Mystery Men. Because the hench bad people were the Disco Boys.
Oh, yeah. It shows you how well I remember that movie. All I remember is the bowling ball with the skull in it. That's about that and Silverware Guy.
Burn! I'm sorry, that's the tick.
Yeah, that's a completely different thing altogether. Well, how the hell are you?
I'm good. It's been a busy week. We flew out the end of last week so that my wife could go visit with her brother. And it was a very somber sort of thing because he has terminal cancer and the end is nigh. So it was definitely not a vacation, even though we stopped a couple of places and got some educating in our history.
Some education. What kind of education on your history?
We were in Nashville, so we went to, I'm not sure if it's pronounced the Hermitage or the Hermitage. It's Andrew Jackson's home, which it was an amazing place. One would never imagine how it's all put together. It was very amazing seeing a slice of history like that from America's 7th president.
I'd really like to go to Monticello at some point. I haven't done that.
We also stopped in and saw the full-size recreation of gosh, I've totally forgotten the word.
The Parthenon.
The Parthenon. That's it.
I have to get you some cue cards at some point. I just need to keep a little dry erase board over here where I can write down the word and just put it at the screen, bail you out.
Yeah, pretty much. Just holding it up right like this. I should do that for just random things, during the show, so the video doesn't go through. I'm just holding up a sign that says something bizarre.
Yeah, probably something like, "Hey, shut up." Let somebody else talk.
Silence! I kill you.
Oh God, no. So apart from that, what's been going on in the writing area?
I've started writing on my part of the next work with Glenn Stewart. So it's in motion. I've still got a short story that I'm finishing off that I need to get to Chris Kennedy. Other than that, things are on course. I'm happy with where I'm at.
Oh, that's good to hear. There's hope for you then. Not much, but a little.
A little bit. Now, admittedly, in about a week, I'm going to have to do something that I have no idea how this is going to work out. I've got a story in a bundle of short stories where it's a bunch of people showing up at a bar to tell tall tales. And so we've got to all go through these stories and insert our comments and questions and smartass remarks in other people's stories and deal with them as they do the same to us. And I'm still not quite sure how that's going to work out.
That sounds like hell.
They've given us the order that the stories are going to appear. One person is going to be writing the introduction and interludes between the stories. All we have to do is read them in order, and there will be a cat herder to go ahead and decide what gets put where, I'm sure.
A designated cat herder. I like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
Somebody to finally make all the decisions and tell everybody to shut the hell up. This is what's going out the door.
Yeah, pretty much. I
It's
know
usually
that
good to have that person.
as far as that goes, these are people from all kinds of different universes. It's like an intergalactic bar sort of thing. And my poor little 5 foot tall Kelsey is going to be sitting down to next to this 6.5 foot tall woman with mechanized weapon arms. And the author in that's going, she could sit in her lap. You never know. Might happen.
Oh, yikes. So basically, you're crossing the universes.
Yes. All the authors are bringing their stories to a place that is outside their own universe so that someone known, I'm not sure it's the Collector, but it's something like the Collector where he collects their stories.
Interesting conceit. So this is finally going out the door in the next week? Or that's when editing starts?
That's when the going through and we start commenting on each other's stories happens.
So in a week, when we talk to you again, you'll be bruised and battered, and
we'll see. I think that the 30th is the deadline for starting that, but it may have shifted back a couple of days because a couple of people are late in getting their stories there. But it's going to happen very shortly after that. It's not going to be long for a trigger pull for that to be published afterwards, sometime next month.
Oh, cool. I look forward to seeing it.
Me too. I've read the first book. They did one like it already, and it was kind of a hoot to read.
All right. Well, something to look forward to.
It's called Bob's Bar.
Bob's Bar. Barb's Country Bunker.
Hey, I didn't name the sentient robot running the bar. I didn't call him Bob. This was not me.
I want to see the bar from the Blues Brothers set in the far future now. I want to see this.
We're on a mission from God.
I want to see this. Instead of chain link fence, they have like a force field or something. Everybody's throwing like recyclable cans at them.
Why not?
Well, I got some shit done. I finished up finally recording Garrett's Inferno yesterday.
Yay!
So I am out of the audio big biz for the moment. Thank Christ. And so I've uploaded everything to Audible except for the closing credits, punnily enough. And hopefully after this, do what?
Fini.
So hopefully after this show, I'll be able to get that done before we leave and get that process started. But other than that, getting back to Evolution, I have missed it very, very much. And now it's time to pull the tops off the party favors and let's do the last third of the book. Of course, it's already now at 77,000 words.
I'm pretty sure that's more like the halfway mark.
Shut up. Shut up. Thankfully, you have no idea what's going on in this book, so otherwise you would shut the hell up. Anyway,
I'm like the opposite of a cheerleader.
Yeah, you're just like trying to push me. Hey, you could create another 5 subplots.
It's a good thing that I'm not one of your beta readers. Throwing in comments as you go, or you'd never finish the damn book.
You know what you could have? You could have a fight here between Caterpillar tractors. Yeah, that's the kind of shit I get from Terry.
That's not a bad idea. I'm making that
instead of a mech war, a battle between folks wearing mechs, a battle between people, Caterpillar tractors.
Well, you see, that's more like the Appalachian version of Mech Wars.
God. No, it's the construction version of Mech Wars.
Try it now.
Isn't Caterpillar headquartered here in Houston?
I'm not sure where it is.
I'm pretty sure they are. But
I can see some dozer mechs going at it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I think, construction, if you ever want to have a kaiju fight, a skyscraper construction area is definitely the place to have it. Because you have all this destroyable shit just lying nearby, and you have an unfinished frame of a building. You don't have to worry about anybody being inside it. You can tear the shit out of it. That'd be awesome.
It sort of sounds like a pit fight that I read that was in an urban fantasy where they had a bunch of trolls fighting on the inside of this for people's amusement. And the the half vampire that was the protagonist ended up being like the kickball in the middle of that fight because somebody waited till the beginning of it to try to assassinate her, and then the fight's on.
So they were just punted around. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, it's more like dodging around trying to avoid being crushed by trolls that are fighting each other while some other vampires try to assassinate you in the middle of all the carnage.
Oh, sounds awesome.
It was awesome. It was a great scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Scenes. That was last week's episode. This week's episode.
Scenes part 2?
Actually, no, I'm not. This is kind of like a cornucopia of topics because once again, we kind of like found ourselves wandering through the forest.
You say?
I don't ever start these conversations that go off the rails. I don't do that.
I'm pretty sure you were part of this.
And I'm certainly never egged on by my co-host.
No, that never happens.
That never happens. So let's figure out what we said and why.
I don't know that we'll ever know why, but let's get to it.
I swear the water supply is poisoned. All right, let's do this. Okay.
Yay!
Ugh. I have a concert to go to in a couple of hours. So I'm
Who are you going to go see?
A band called the Decembrists. My understanding is there will be a truckload of hipsters there. So this may be a very interesting place for an old dude like me to hang out.
I wonder if that's a playoff of the Novemberists.
I have no idea.
I seem to remember something historical about, I'm not sure if it was the November Society or November Movement or something. I'm not sure. There was something that's tickling at my memory.
Tickling at your memory.
Yeah. I'm going to have to look it up.
Okay.
That's a song somebody did, apparently called The Novemberist, but I'm not sure if there's something to it.
Decemberist Revolution, 1828 coup in Argentina.
That's probably it. I'm probably misremembering it. It wouldn't be the first time.
So it took place in Imperial Russia. Okay, there was another one, a coup in Argentina, but took place in Imperial Russia, 1825. Russian army officers led about 3,000 soldiers in a protest against Tsar Nicholas. Tsar Nicholas's first assumption of the throne after his elder brother Constantine removed himself from the line of succession. Ah, okay.
I'm sure everything turned out fine for them.
Somehow I don't think so.
Somehow I don't think so either.
Somehow I really don't think so. Somehow I just don't think so. Anyway, we're gonna do that in a couple hours.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, it will be. God, it's been such a fucking day. A couple of days. I fucked off this weekend. It was awesome.
You can do that. I'm going to throw somebody out of a window.
Why's that?
Because it's necessary for the plot.
Oh, gotcha.
They're going to have a rope. Well, more like a cable tied around them.
That story. Right. Yes.
So what's a defenestration when you throw someone out a window?
I guess.
Why someone would need a word for it, I'm not sure, but there is one.
Oh, come on. Like, the Germans have the word Schadenfreude. I mean, that's the fact that you can say so many things and express so many feelings in one word is awesome. English just does not have enough of those. That's my opinion.
Defenestration, the action of throwing someone or something out a window.
There you go. Why use 20 words when you can use one?
Because you use that word, people go, what's that mean?
Well, then they should get on the damn Google and go look it up.
Yeehaw.
Uh-huh. All right, man. I'm going to get out of here.
All right. You have fun.
Yep, you too. And we will talk to you soon. Goodbye, patrons.
See you this weekend, 3
Yeah.
o'clock
3 o'clock.
Central.
3 o'clock Central.
It's what is that? Was that Sunday?
Saturday.
Saturday, 3 p.m. Central. See you there, patrons.
Yeah. We'll see you there. All right. Bye.
They have some bad elements, and so there are elements of their society that can make villains in these stories, just like any other society.
Yeah, the problem is when they don't make them complex. When they have no, that's always been my problem with the good guy bad guy books. The Dudley Do Right in Space you were talking about, and did we begin the episode in the middle again?
It wouldn't surprise me if we did.
It sort of sounds like it.
I think we may be talking about something. I think we may have wandered into an episode. We've committed episode again.
We've committed episode. Some people commit literature, others commit episode. The problem with the whole Dudley Do Right in Space bullshit, and it's the same problem I have with Superman and the cartoons. I don't give a shit about the comic books. I never read them because I was so soiled on Superman. So haters, send your comments to the fucking void. I don't care. Bottom line is, I never liked him because everything was so black and white with no questioning whether or not the law was wrong.
Yes, I can agree with that.
There was nothing there, and therefore it caused a very unrealistic socialization. It made no goddamn sense. It also meant the moment you tricked him into being allied with you, he would be unquestioning. So it just had these issues, and I didn't understand at the time why they bothered me, but it always bothered me. And then later as an adult, and I figured it out. Because I want my characters to have those flaws. Even the heroic ones. I want them to have those pieces because I've never met a human being that doesn't.
So you're more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy.
I am much more. Well, you can't even say that anymore because the DC stuff has gotten really dark.
Well, I'm not talking dark and grittiness. I'm talking about character complexity.
Batman.
He may be the exception to the rule.
He is
the rest of them. I'm not so sure about.
Well, I know that Justin, for instance, being a big Superman fan, always got pissed off about me about this, but because he reads read all the comics and everything else, was saying basically I wasn't giving Supes any credit. I was like, all right, fine, from the comic books, but guess what? It's just my way of seeing the character. So anyway, but yes, I have drifted into the territory of liking the characters that damaged in a lot of these books. And I want to deal with that. They're
going to have a movie with Black Widow coming up. And what I've heard is that it's going to be her origin story.
That's not going to be pretty.
There is going to be some very complex things going on, some very not nice things going on because her background is KGB, messy and ugly. I think she was raised, if I remember right, she was raised as a child assassin.
Yeah, but she worked for the Russians, I think, at first before she became freelance, and then eventually started working with the team, or maybe she was freelance before that, because I think she worked for. I'm sure somebody out there will correct us, but I thought
maybe I'm wrong, but maybe I'm confusing her with someone else that was very similar.
Are you confusing her with Mystique?
I don't think so. There's another couple of movies that have come out that talk about young children groomed to be assassins.
Okay. Yeah,
I may be mistaking her background for that.
Okay. Anyway, regardless.
But in any case, it's not pretty, whatever her background is.
She's probably going to be fighting the good guys.
That could be true.
I would love, and one of the things I really loved about the second book of the Expanse series is one of the main characters is programmed a certain way to think about the rest of humanity outside of Mars, outside of Martians. And then she gets sent to Earth and has to reevaluate everything that she's been told about Earth. And then you see the flip side of that, of humans having to come to terms with what Martians are actually like. because it's basically the programming on the programming on either side of the world, right? It's the same thing with USSR versus the United States, the Cold War. It was the same kind of thing. It was basically a propaganda war back and forth, but really you start to identify the people with the propaganda. And then that's what leads to this, bullshit that we have to deal with for the next 50,000 fucking years. So,
I'm not sure that human beings have ever been any different than that. Humans are very tribal, and they take people that are not in their tribe, and they go ahead and do this stuff to them, and they have since the beginning of time.
And the fuckery is to make sure that the tribe of the week is the person. It's the same thing in 1984, right? We have never been at Oceana. Oceana is our friend. And then next week, we have never been friends with Oceana. We are at war with Oceana. It's like, what? It's the same kind of thing. That goes on with characters. That goes on with characters in their stories. Challenge their belief systems. Get them to in kind of that moral quandary where they find out something that they believed is wrong, and then they have to deal with that one way or the other. There's only two courses you can go when you start to go down that road. One is to basically say, "Yeah, I'm going to side with it anyway," or you break apart from it. Either way, that's a pretty catastrophic change.
I never write anything like that. I just write Dudley Do-Right in space.
Oh my God.
In a way, I'm being facetious there, but in a way it's true. I write space opera that doesn't delve too deeply into people questioning themselves. I've got good guys, I've got bad guys. I don't really have any ambiguous, not quite good guys, not quite bad guys. They're either on one side or the other, and the reader can tell who they are.
But does that also match with the kind of conflicts that are in those kinds of stories typically?
In a lot of ways, there are some where you've got some characters that are not quite, you're not quite sure where they fall in there, but very much so for the type of story that I write, you can usually tell the good guys from the bad guys at a glance.
Because they have the mustaches waggling back and forth.
That's right. Because they look like Boris and Natasha.
Oh, Christ. Oh, anyway. I like the kinds of stories where you have the characters have to make those choices where you get into their heads. Those are the kinds of stories I like to read. And if you set it against a backdrop of crazy, great. All the better. Stakes get higher.
Yes, but with you, they're trying to figure out, am I right? Am I wrong? Should I be thinking about this while the monster's eating its way through the hatch?
No, that is not what I do. That is not. No. Jim Butcher scene and sequel, baby. They're not thinking of any of that shit when something's chasing them. They may have been thinking it right before the tentacle shows up to come at them, but, they're not exactly solving calculus problems while something's trying to eat their face. Jeez.
Why do I seem to remember you had a story where the monster was trying to eat somebody and they're busy thinking about making the perfect omelet or something?
No. That's Blue Deep Sea. The one with Thomas Jane, and it was with sharks.
I don't know. I got nothing. I just remember you talking about it. I thought it might have been one of yours.
No, it's not one of mine. I never had that. Never had that. I did have a character to think it would make the perfect household cleaner, a la reference, sort of a side reference to Ghostbusters. But I don't think they were being eaten at the time. I don't think so. Anyway.
You need to have an unregistered particle accelerator. That's what you need. Was that what it was? It was something unlicensed, unregistered. I don't know.
Yeah, particle accelerator.
You need one of those. One of your characters desperately needs one of those.
I might come down to it. If I write another book like this, when I got in mind, then maybe.
I got, as an aside that is completely unrelated to anything else.
And now for something completely different.
I was talking with some other authors, and as part of the conversation, one of them mentioned that they had a class of weapons that only the very wealthy could afford. It was, a status symbol to own one of these weapons. He called them Dolph Lundgrens.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh, that's mean.
I'm like, wow, I need one of those.
Jesus. See, I need to make a joke in there about a Bling 3D printer versus a regular 3D printer, where the Bling 3D printer puts out, is able to do more kinds of minerals or whatever to print the gun. So it's like gold plated or, whatever they want to do with it, encrusted jewels, whatever the.
But what is it the kids do these days? They bedazzle things. You need to have a bedazzled 3D printer.
I hope you are out of date on Bedazzle. I hope. I really hope. Otherwise, we're going to have another disco moment, and I don't think I can handle another one of those.
As a matter of fact, I was busy listening to the disco channel the other day.
Why would you do that?
I actually like disco music. I, of course, would not be able to dance to disco music, but I do like the music.
This is just a guilty pleasure. Like Justin with Poison wasn't. That was a love affair, not a guilty pleasure. But there are people out there.
Kink. That's a kink.
That's a kink. Oh, more hate mail coming from the 80s. Hairbands aficionados unite. They're going to send me all sorts of shit. There's no accounting for taste or lack thereof. Anyway,
talking about the 80s, totally unrelated to even what we were talking about before. I saw a meme go by the other day that said, person A said, "Can you fax that to me?" It's like, no, I can't fax from here. Where are you? The 80s or the I'm in the present day, the 2000s, the 2100s. I can't fax to the 1980s.
Yeah, I saw that meme the other day.
Oh boy.
I saw that meme the
other day. It's so true.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is. I laugh when it's like, email or fax. It's like, who the faxes? Seriously.
It's one of those things of it's funny because it's true.
I mean, if you don't have a computer to do email or a phone, here's what I'm thinking. If you have to go to the goddamned Kinko's, thank you. Go there. You could spend the same amount of time renting one of their computers as you could paying for the damn fax.
It's totally true. Right? We've got a printer that does it, but how long before the fax technology actually goes out?
Well,
it's got to go. It's got to be soon, man. It's got to be soon.
People, you need to upgrade. Now we're going to get a bunch of hate mail from all the fax machine lovers. They love the smell. They get high. They get high off the old fax paper smell.
Oh my gosh!
You remember this? It smelled almost like mimeograph.
It did.
It would just and just feel brain cells dying in your skull. Just hear them screaming in your ears.
Newsflash: email replaces fax.
See 1994 for more details.
That's even better.
So we would have faxed that, then send you a confirmation email to your AOL account.
Your character's doing this. Why is this not happening? That sounds like dialogue straight out of one of your books.
If I continue on doing what I'm doing right now, that kind of shit is definitely going in. Trust me. It's going to be bureaucracy while being eaten by aliens. It'll be wonderful. It'll be completely awesome. Anyway, back to characters.
Sounds like you're going to be writing Men in Black before you're done here.
You know what? I would love to write a book where it's got the same feel as Oscar from the Street with somebody who's completely unrecognizable, but creates some kind of the same characters that I created in the street and kind of bring that in and then change them into situations. I want to do that because I really think I did a good job with those characters and I missed them. So I want to find a way to do that. So it's obviously not trampling on puppet rights, but
are you a puppets rights supporter?
I have no comment on puppets rights. I refuse to get political. I think my opinions stand for themselves in the books. So I'll let my books speak for my loathing.
If this other group of people can make a movie with puppets, You can write a book about puppets.
Oh God. Oh God. I can hear I can hear the sound of a whole cadre of fiendlings saying, "Do it, do it, do it." Silly bastards. Anyway, back to characters. Do you think that you have to kind of make a choice? Do you think there's a middle ground between writing drama, which is, I guess, what we were talking, or what I've been talking about, is more drama than just kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It's more action and event oriented.
I see my books more as adventure stories. Perhaps that's the difference. Is I'm not trying to write a drama. I'm trying to write something that feels grand and has the characters doing important things and exploring the universe. It feels like an adventure to me.
So it's more Star Trek the original, where the characters are just
Yes.
kind of okay.
Yes.
All right. Is that, in your opinion, haters, leave your comments in the void. In your opinion, is that typical for the genre, or is that just typical for the genre of books that you like?
I believe that may be typical of the genre of books I like.
Okay.
I believe that the genre, space opera, has a lot of room in it. It tends to be more feeling like an adventure because things are written on a grand scale. They don't tend to get down into the mud. But when you start digging into military science fiction, that changes. Of course, you've got the military slant there. And I also, as somebody that formerly served, I have a lot of the mindset of the military in me too. So even though it's different, I tend to agree with the characters. I tend to see them as good and not be mixed good and evil, because I tend to see that sort of thing from a certain prism.
There we go again, the binary. The binary
problem. You know, it could very well be that I'm only reading things that appeal to me, so I'm affirming my own biases.
It's the same way that people tell me I just haven't read the right fantasy, sword and sorcery books. Maybe they're right. Maybe one day we'll find out.
You've read fantasy. That's him.
That's fantasy, not sword and sorcery.
Oh, that's true.
I said sword and sorcery.
The type of sword and sorcery novels that I think you would like, I think you'd be a Fafard and Gray Mouser kind of guy.
I'm perplexed even by this title.
It was old when I was a kid, so it is definitely not new stuff.
So was it printed on the Gutenberg press or what?
Now I'm gonna have to look it up, but I bet it was actually written in the 60s. I bet it was written in the 60s. Yeah, it's probably on the Gutenberg.
I meant, was it printed the same time as the Gutenberg books? But never mind that.
I've got to look. Published from 1939 to 1988.
Okay, type in Gutenberg.
I'm sure that's a little older.
Okay, just making sure. Oh boy!
But okay. I think that you're the kind of guy that likes old style sword and sorcery. You're a Conan the Barbarian kind of guy. Have you ever read any of Howard's books?
No, I have not actually.
I did when I was a kid. I read the original books for the Conan series. That's some bloody, gory shit.
I don't necessarily like bloody and gory.
Well, I'm not saying you would, but I'm saying it is definitely not exactly, oh, I'm a good guy. No, I am the one that's going to hear the lamentation of your women as I behead you and chase you out of here. I think that you are more of an old style sword and sorcery guy. New style, I don't even think there are any sword and sorcery books nowadays. Now it's all high fantasy, deep into the world building. And fuck that. I want some adventure. I want some barbarian motherfucker to start taking his axe and cutting people into quarters.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, here we go.
You know, there's somebody in the forums that's going by. He's apparently listening from the beginning, and he's listing the things that I am in each of these episodes. I don't think I've changed so much. I may be more experienced as a writer, but apparently my opinionated nature has not changed.
No, it has never changed. You've always been like this. I can just imagine that you were like this at 2 years old.
I don't like that milk. I like this milk.
I have no idea. Couldn't tell you.
Oh, God. So all the books, the books that you kind of like, regardless of genre, are adventure stories, essentially?
I like reading, we were talking Clancy earlier. I liked reading his novels. So those are pretty adventure-y sort of things, but much more complex. But yeah, a lot of what I like to read are adventure stories of one kind or another.
Okay, how would you describe an adventure story?
I would say if you're looking at an adventure story, it's one where perhaps the scale of the setting is a bit larger than usual. And it involves a lot of going places that are very exotic, that are different, and finding new and interesting people and then killing them.
Okay,
maybe that last part's not, really there, but some books that's the way it works out.
So basically it's like James Bond. They're traveling all over the world to go do this, that, and the other to solve a mystery or stop something from happening.
It may not be the strict, correct definition of adventure stories, but that's how I see it.
Okay. All right, fair enough.
Those stories are grand adventures to me.
Okay. I gotcha.
What about you? You seemed like one who you like the nuances of the character, perhaps more than I do. Well, certainly more than I do.
It just depends on what I'm in the mood for. I do like mind candy. When it's fun. And that's not there's some masterful mind candy, so I don't want to hear that shit either. But Jake Bible's Z-Burbia series, just a blast to read. So much fun. And it is essentially adventure, but you get inside his head a lot. And so you do see the nuances in him and then some of the people around him. But it doesn't really, I don't think those stories necessarily dive into that. But they're just fantastic brain candy. They're wonderful. And it's what, most of the horror books out there, seems like the sea monster books and things like that are in those genres. That's what they are. I mean, that's what The Black is. It's essentially an adventure story. Hopefully I made the characters okay, but it's essentially an adventure story. And then starting to dig in a little bit, but I don't give these characters time to ruminate about anything. They're running for their lives too much. And that is the adventure thing. That's the same thing with suspense beats and everything else that I do in books like Outbreak.
Some of the other things that I read a lot, the lit RPG books, those are adventures in a way. They revisit some of the childhood stuff, the young adult stuff where I did game mastering. So they touch on the gaming that was part of my younger life. But I also read post-apocalyptic stuff. That is perhaps not particularly adventure, although it does have some of the same elements going for it. But it's definitely a darker sort of thing. There's a lot of moral ambiguity in post-apocalyptic stories.
Yes, I was just thinking that. That's kind of, am I actually talking? Yeah, all right. That's what I was thinking about all the zombie books. Most of the zombie books that are out there that are very popular, like The Walking Dead, that's really, the zombies are the least of their problems in many, 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 many cases. Just a backdrop. Post-apocalypse, same, with the regular genre without the zombies or viral outbreak or whatever else. It's the same thing. The apocalypse itself is not the problem. The problem is all the people are acting the way they're acting during the apocalypse.
Yeah. The tribal nature of human beings gets a lot more constrained when survival is on the line. Suddenly, people that you might pass on the street could become your deadly enemy.
Yes. And the neighbor you've been having the fight with about the pool for the last 10 years could become a very, very important ally.
It's true. Or you could just kill him and take the water.
Or you can just kill him and take the water. I hadn't considered that.
Well, it is post-apocalyptic. God only knows what's really going to happen.
See, this is where I'm waiting for you to write a book from the mustachioed villain's perspective. This is why I'm waiting for you to do this.
I keep threatening to write a book, a fantasy book where the villain is actually the protagonist because he's managed to kill off all of the heroes, and then the shit goes down, and he's the only one standing there going, well, what the fuck? How did this happen?
I am the dictator supreme. And then the aliens
it's like,
showed
what
up.
if Blofeld won?
Yeah, what the see, that's the thing I don't understand. It's like we will rule we will own the world. What are you gonna do with it?
Okay, Spectre, what's going to happen when you actually win?
Yeah, you really think it's gonna be that easy controlling a world population?
There's only one problem with ruling the world. You have to actually rule the world.
Yes. It's not like you go play golf for 365.
Exactly so. So you win and you are fucked.
That's why I've never understood that. I can understand I want this island over here. I want enough money to do this, that, or the other. I can understand those things.
Villains in those stories are a lot like dogs chasing cars. What are they going to do when they get that bumper?
Yes, exactly. And the Joker's the only one that admits it. And he says he doesn't even know what he'd do if he got more than the bumper. He says that. I wouldn't know what to do if I caught one.
I believe it. Sometimes you have to be insane to realize, you're a fucking nut job.
It's that realization we wish narcissists would have, at least for like 3 seconds to sit there and think, is this really the right thing? Am I really doing the right thing?
I saw a different meme that was talking. It had a door where you could go to a doctor's office, and it was something about narcolepsy or not narcolepsy. Yeah. Now I've lost my mind. I wasn't talking about narcolepsy. What was I talking about?
I don't know.
Narcissistic.
Narcissistic.
It was for narcissistic behavior.
I thought we were going to go talk about necrotizing fasciitis.
Don't try to confuse me any more than I already am. But it was for the treatment of narcissism, and it had one of those little number pullouts. Every single one of the numbers was 1.
Of course. Okay. Yeah. Of course. I like that. I like that a lot. I like that as a scene in the book. I really do. All of them are number 1.
Beats the heck out of, Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, that was. I can just imagine some of my British acquaintances and friends nodding their heads at that statement. Because yeah, I know how to cue. Anyway,
in any case, I read a lot of genres. I read cozy mysteries as well. Not so much a fan of police procedurals, although I've read a few. Each genre has its own level of character complexity and grayness of them. And I think I find myself always edging towards the ones where it's not so complicated.
Yeah, I can see
Maybe
that.
it's because I just like the mind candy. I'm along for the ride.
You're along for the ride. Just let it take you wherever it goes.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because it just, I guess my favorite books are where we get to spend the time with the characters and we get to see those conflicts play out. And I'd like to do more of that in my own work. I just would. But none of the properties I currently have going are like that. One of these days, maybe I'll get there. But that notwithstanding.
One of the problems of writing in a universe where you've got good guys and bad guys is I tend to accumulate good guys.
Yeah, because you keep having to meet new people.
I keep having them meet new people, and then I keep them around.
So basically, you're like TNG, except every planet they visit, they're grabbing somebody new to add to the crew.
It's true. It's totally true. I've got too many decent protagonists nowadays, and I have to keep paying attention to who I'm giving a point of view in a book.
So I'm working on this story for this anthology. It's Saturday morning. I tell Terry, help. I'm at 12,000 words or whatever. I can't remember. And I have nowhere near the end. And his response was kill everybody.
I said, kill someone. In fact, kill 2.
And then I said, I killed 4. And I'm still at 15,000 words by the time it's all over with.
You're not helping your rep for, being able to write short here anyway.
No. And I posted that comment. I just need to focus on like writing a scene for a short story. And then maybe I'll actually make under 7,500 words. Maybe. I start having too much fun.
Yeah, I understand it. That's what happens to me. I start having fun and the book is going to be however long it is. Short stories, it's like this particular anthology. The goal is somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000 words. Guaranteed, Terry's going to hit 10,000 words. Guaranteed.
I think another problem is we like throwing so many obstacles at the characters. Like I felt I wanted to make it like a big battle. So I had this other scene to make it that much more difficult. So it wouldn't be, I just went over here and that was no problem. It did this. And I wanted to give it another, oh shit moment where you can't go that way. You can't go the other direction because that's where the big bad beastie is. And what you need to do is in front of you that's also circling with creatures that want to eat your face.
That's totally true. One of the things that I found that I can do that I end up doing a lot is in my reading, I'll come across just an element of a story and go, ooh, I could take this element of this particular story and wrap it into what I'm doing right now and really make my characters' lives the shit. In this particular case, I was reading it was a police procedural type book, and some thieves broke into a high-rise apartment and got out by rappelling down the building.
Okay.
And that's fine. That's easily doable. But I had these characters in the short story I'm writing right now. They were originally going to be on the same floor as the people they were going to try to rob of stuff. And I was like, well, this is a high-tech society. Let's go ahead and put them on the 272nd floor.
So they need breathing apparatus just to step outside?
And not only that, they couldn't get their room on the same floor. They actually ended up being like 6 levels above it. And the elevators, they're in the lowest level of penthouses now because, the hotel is, upgrading them free of charge, so to speak. But this elevator doesn't even serve the lower levels. They can't get down anywhere except to the ground level. Then they have to go to another elevator and go back up. So at some point in the story, this character who I have now made utterly frightened of heights is going to have to rappel down at like 300 stories above the freaking ground with the wind blowing them around. So yeah, I kind of pulled that element out and said, I think I can make my character's life living hell.
Yes. And the problem is when I start doing that, I find that I like the character and then I want to get to know the character. And then pretty soon, 130,000 words later, we have a book. Yeah, I need to make my characters more disposable. Anyway, I think that is an issue. We got so used to throwing. I mean, it's like freaking Donkey Kong. We're the gorilla just throwing barrels down at the character to see if we can trip them up and make them run through their lives. And every once in a while, give them an extra life as a bonus and maybe let the girl kiss him. I mean,
that game where the sun tries to kill you? Yeah, that's it.
Or the sun tries to kill you?
I forget if it's a Mario Brothers game, but there's apparently a level of one of these games where the sun is actually trying to kill your character.
Oh, yeah. I think that is in Mario. I think it is in the first Mario Brothers thing.
So that's what we as writers do. We become the sun trying to kill our characters.
Yeah, it's one thing when you introduce side plots, for instance, that don't have as much action to them. When you start spending more time with the characters during those slow parts in between those massive pieces, I think that's when you kind of linger over this area a little bit. I think that's one of the reasons why The Strain is one of my favorite, horror series or novels, whatever you want to call it, because we get to spend time and get to know these people. And it goes over 3 books, covers 2 years worth of shit. But I think that's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorites is all the characters matter. Every single one of them matter. And that means something. It really does. To me anyway, for the book. But I mean, it's all set in the against the backdrop of the typical virus, outbreak situation, or let's complicate it with vampires or whatever else. It is one of those, 24 kind of action thingies going on once it starts moving.
Did I mention that they didn't bring any repelling gear?
So is it bedsheet time?
I think they're going to have to go ahead. They're going to have a little bit of rope, but they're basically going to have to tie this woman to it and lower her down while she tries to kick herself over a couple of balconies.
Oh, God. Terry.
Have you ever been rappelling?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You ever Australian rappelled?
No, but I rappelled in the dark. But no, I've never Australian rappelled, which is first.
You know what it is? Yeah. When I went to air assault school in the 101st, part of the graduation requirements was going up to the top of the tower to the side that didn't actually have a wall, lowering yourself till you're basically facing the ground, and then going head first down.
Using your heels to slow yourself?
You've got somebody on the ground being belay, but yeah, basically you've got a hand in front of you and a hand behind your back. The hand behind your back is your brake, while the hand in front of you is kind of guiding you along. But it's not so easy. You could possibly lose your grip.
Right.
I know of somebody that rappelled out of a helicopter and lost his grip on his rope and did terrific damage to his feet and legs, shattered basically every bone in his feet.
Ow.
Falling from all the way up there. So it could be some dangerous stuff, and that'll really brace you right there, having to go head first off of a building like that.
Especially if you're afraid of heights.
Especially if you're afraid of heights. It's one of those weird things. I'm not afraid of heights. I was a helicopter crew chief. I flew along in helicopters without any problem. It's when you start getting close to the ground that I have a problem. High up, no problem. Closer to the ground, that starts to become a different matter right then.
I think, again, it's the whole way we perceive things. Trying to imagine $1 billion when it starts to be meaningless because it has no context associated with it. It's the same kind of thing if you're viewing something from 1,000 feet. It doesn't have any context. When it's within 30 meters, oh boy, does it have context.
You don't envision yourself falling from way up in the sky, but you can see yourself falling from 100 feet in the air.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, that's a good way to play with characters. So I'd love that. I would have so much fun with that.
And I remember the scenes where it was one of the Mission Impossible movies where they were in Dubai and had to go down the glass side of one of these things. And the wind is going to be terrific. The wind is going to be awful.
I have the rep for being the asshole to my characters, but man,
I'm apparently going to be an asshole in this particular short story.
I think your capacity to be a total asshole is widely underestimated by our viewing public.
I think it may be true because usually I'm not so much of an asshole, but when the circumstances align, I can be a severe asshole.
It's always the deal where it's like, okay, well, I added this element. How are they going to get around that? Oh, they have to go here. Oh, well, what's going to keep them from going there?
Especially when writing a short story. That's why I end up always going to the long end, is because I keep adding things in.
Just keep adding stuff in there because it's so much more fun than an A to C story with there just being one peak in the middle. It's just so much more fun to heap as much crap as you possibly can on the characters.
I've already went through this thing where I've had 2 beats of them not getting what they wanted, having a setback to their basic plan, and they haven't even started executing their plan.
When did the plan go to hell? When we woke up this morning?
We just landed and their plan is to shit.
See, that's awesome. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. I think those kinds of stories are easier to write. I think
it's definitely not so bad once things get going. Yeah.
Yeah. Once things get going, it's easier. It's easier to write those kinds of stories where you have that, because you don't have to spend time thinking in the character. You're throwing things at them so fast that you just get lost in it, trying to describe all the crazy shit that's going on. I think that's one of the reasons why, you know, writing combat scenes just goes by in a flash, you know, time wise. I know that's what happened with the writers. The combat scenes or the actual games just took no time to get to 10,000 words, each one of those. It's just a lot easier to write. If you've got all that stuff going on and you're trying to keep track of it, then yes, you have a way to, you know, fill up the word count pretty damn quick.
The one thing I've got the characters doing right at this particular moment, I've already got in mind how I'm going to ruin their plans yet again going on, but it's one of the problems that I have with stories is you've got to go through a certain sequence of events to make the scenes that follow make sense, because if you rush them and don't include those scenes, it seems like you're making shit up.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes there's a difference. A short story should have a fairly simple plot.
It should, but even a novel, if you're going to have a character do something, you've got to take the steps in between to take them to that mental place where doing that makes sense.
Right.
And what I'm doing in the short story is I'm basically cutting off every single avenue that they had planned for getting into that room.
Okay.
And I've got to write the scene I'm in, even though it's not an action scene. They've got to go down and have the little get-together party for all the news people so they can fail to get the credentials to get through the guy's door.
Right. Yes.
But they have to have that scene with the party, because otherwise people would say, well, why didn't they just go through the door?
Right. Exactly. And that tends to be an issue, because when you're looking at something simple like that, yeah, it's not going to be interesting unless you're going to start the story with them planning to get down there and just basically sort of gloss over or describe in 3 or 4 paragraphs what happened on the floor below.
Yeah, that's not the way I write stories. So
I know that's the way I would write that story, but that's okay.
Well, that's okay. It's going to be fine. It's a lot of fun to get there, and I know for a fact that I've written enough short stories that I can hit the word count and still get everything accomplished that I want to accomplish, but it's going to run long. It's going to be at the 10,000 word mark, just like every other story I've written that had the 10,000 word mark.
Let me go back up for a second, because you kind of ran over me. When I said simple plot, I did not mean an A to C story. That's not what I meant.
Okay.
I meant short stories can't have 15,000 different subplots.
It's true.
It's a fairly simple plot map, because you just don't have time to do much.
It's a linear story.
Yeah, it's usually a linear story or pretty close to it.
If you're not going to write a linear story, it's going to be a really complex little short story, and it's going to be a little hard to understand because you can't put everything in context.
Unless you're really masterful. I know it can be done.
Oh,
I can't think of any examples, but
sure, I'm sure that somebody can do it. I can't.
Yeah, you can't.
I would never write a non-linear story anyway. Fuck those guys.
Wait a minute. You're talking about me.
Fuck those guys.
Oh my God. Anyway, now you made me completely miss my point. When I said simple plot, you can't make it too simple. If you don't make the conflict pretty considerable in some way or another, then it's either going to become kind of a slice of life kind of story, which is fine, but it's not going to be, that's going to be more suited for literary stuff, I would think.
Stakes are very important.
Stakes are important.
You've got to make whatever you're writing that short story about have stakes that matter to the character and have complications that could really be bad if things aren't figured out.
I was up at master classes looking at something about
Admit it, you're taking the James Patterson course.
Let me get there. Give me a minute. Stop making faces at me. Let me finish my story.
Sorry.
Stop fucking it up. All right. So I'm up there looking at a screenplay writing masterclass. And so it was like, oh, well, if you like this, you'll, love, you should take a look at the James Patterson's masterclass. Like, okay. So I went and looked at it, and then I went to the syllabus. He's got like 2 episodes on how to outline. And
I knew I hated that bastard.
And said in the preview for it, well, the first thing you need to know is how to outline stringently, and talking about making these very, very focused, narrow outlines. I'm like, okay, not the class for me. Anyway, I just looked at that and went, oh, okay, well, now it all makes sense. If you just have that outline and you're not going to deviate from it, that's great. Yeah, that's not me.
The reason he has those outlines is because, he's got to have the minions be able to write to what the story he wants.
No, let's get past that bullshit.
Jerk.
I'm betting that when he was he was putting stuff out, and when he put stuff out under his own name with no co-writer, that's exactly how he did what he did. That was why he was able to kick out the books he was able to kick out, which I think is great. If you could get to that point, I'm not there. I like the puzzles I create for myself with stuff like Derelict. It's a puzzle. I have to figure out how to put the pieces together. I have to figure out the shape of the pieces. So
have you ever written yourself so far into a corner that you just didn't know how to get yourself out?
Derelict?
I think you got yourself out, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And then got myself in 3 more.
I know of one author, and he's not the only one. But I'm not going to mention any names here, that stopped a series because he didn't know where to go from where he left it. He wrote himself into a corner in his own mind. I personally, having read the series, I said, hell, I could get out of that. But he has himself into a mental box that he can't figure how to get himself out again.
Well, I figured it out. I figured out how I'm going to do this. And while I was at Staple, I was talking to Robert, and it just kind of went ding in my head, and I went, oh. And then immediately opened up my iPad and was writing those to myself while having a conversation with him. I thought I ripped myself into a corner in a big, big way because I didn't know how to do what I needed to do. But now I have figured it out, I think. So I know what I need to do in Trident, and I know what I need to do in Shipyards. But that was a very dangerous time. And Destruction took so goddamn long because I could not figure out how to end it. Because there's just no way to handle all the things I had set up. There's just no way to do it. So I just said, fuck it. We're just going to get to the end of this, and then I'll figure out how to do the rest of it. So, yeah, I have written myself out of a corner, and I really thought I was fucked.
I wonder how many times Butcher thinks Dresden is I'm not sure he's an outliner. I wonder how many times he finds himself going, God, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's got some luxuries. He's got some luxuries because he's got the whole fantasy magic thing, and there's always something somebody could do to, basically get their way out of it. And then he has that become a whole nother complication. Kind of like when he had to become a knight. Nothing comes for free, right? So, what was it? He was the something knight.
He was the Winter Knight.
Winter Knight, yeah, for Mab. Anyway, when he did that, he really screwed up, in my humble opinion. But he did it for a trade.
Nothing comes for free.
Nothing comes for free. So that's where the fun is also figuring that out. It makes the books a little bit more complex, and maybe they take a little more time, but I think it can be worth it.
Looking at the mythos inside of Dresden's novel, Mab isn't his enemy. Not really.
She's chaos. She's the Joker.
She's got her own agenda, but she went out of her way to give him the hints that he needed to get out of one of the things that she got him into.
No, she doesn't hate him. Hate's the wrong word. She's just mad. Basically, she gave him the hints to get out of that because he's her creature as far as she's concerned, and she probably needs him for something else.
Yeah, and he's in a competition to see how he can get himself out of it.
Yes, and from basically what, book 3, he's in that competition because she comes gunning for him.
Yep, something along those lines. But he's been in a no-win situation like that before. Remember when he got one of the denarii?
Yeah.
So I personally didn't see how that was going to end well.
It didn't end well.
But it did end.
But it did end, yes. He found a way out of it.
He found a way out of it. And he'll find a way out of that. The peace accords is coming up pretty soon.
I think I'm 4 books behind at this point.
I'm caught up. I can't wait to see what he does here because they're getting set up to make peace. I am sure things will work out well. No, they will not.
Yeah, if you haven't read the Dresden books, get on that. They're fun. They're fun.
If you want a masterclass in how to write a gripping story that just races along, the Dresden Files is a good example.
Yeah, I think so. And
I want the mouth on that character. Oh my God, I would love to be able to write Dresden's mouth.
Yeah, he's got some really good dialogue. I think if you're snappy with dialogue, you are so much more far ahead than everybody else because you can have scenes where it's just the dialogue. You don't have to use descriptive tags because once you get used to how the character sounds in your head, all the author has to do is write one line of dialogue and you know who said it.
Nora Roberts can do that.
If you set that up that way, you really can have a lot of fun with that. I have moments, but I'm not great. It's one of those things I'm working on. So I'm having fun with this book currently, having these little snippy snaps. So we'll see where it goes. We wandered all over the place.
That happens.
I mean, for freaking hell's sake, what did you do, man? You took us on this massive expedition where we practically brainstormed.
I don't know that I took us on this expedition. I was still talking over shit in the pre-show when suddenly episode happened.
Yeah, but it was accidental. It wasn't on purpose. We haven't had one of these happen in a while.
Yeah, for like 2 months.
Exactly. We've been good. I promise we've been good, but not today. Not today. We got kind of lost.
You declared episode. You get to close us out.
I get to close this out. God, fine. Be that way. I will do that. If you would like to forward an accolade or complaint about any of the topics we talked about today or way before this, you can send us an email at show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can tweet me at Paul_E_Cooley, or you can join the listeners of the Dead Robot Society.
Did you say
Facebook
almost
group.
said the listeners of the fucking Dead Robot Society?
Shut up. Where you can join all the crazy, get some advice, help, and help others. It's a great place to be. Come visit us if you're on the evil Facebook. And we'd be remiss if we didn't thank our wonderful host, Pod Hoster, who makes all 4 bazillion episodes of the Dead Robot Society available for your ear holes. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/DRS podcast. And if you want to support us, make sure the show keeps going on and we can pay our bills for hosting this mess, you can become a Patreon patron at patreon.com/DRS podcast, and where you can earn, access to exclusive content, uncut shows, live shows, uncut shows.
Uncut shows? That sounds more like the porn version of Dead Robot Society.
Bring on the moil. Where you could basically hang out with the patrons to do all that stuff, so check us out there. Now you've totally screwed me.
Paul John Holmes Cooley.
Would that be better as John Paul? Yeah, John Paul Holmes.
I think you've got a character name.
I think he needs some cosmetic surgery. All right, so now it's time to read the names of our $10 patrons as of this moment. Sue, how many books are you up to now? Bayman? Yeah, you're going to hate me you're going to hate me. JD Barker, Corley Davison, Kelson Deal send toast to 10 tenths stout saints, 10 tall tents. Isabel, I forgot to change this wave too long. Oops, cushy. And now this has been up here way too long. Come on. Oh, God. I'm not Rick Shaw, who gave me that ridiculous, unpronounceable thing. I'm not even going to try and do this week. Lisa Slack, Sandy Manpants, Cheryl Winters, Tracy Bodine. John changed his profile name this week. Kilgallen. Okay, John. Thank you. Devin Lee, Nathan Reich, Schutzervergen, Schaften, Petty.
Sounds German.
That's what he says. German words. I can't. I got nothing. I don't know how to pronounce that. Drew's steak puns are rare, medium, well done. Bernardi, good job. Chris Winder, Andre Conde Moraes, DJ Chamberlain, and J.R. Handley.
Thank you, folks. We appreciate your support.
Yes, thank you very much, patrons. With that, it's time for Terry and I to say goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.